So may I present a gifted, outspoken, a courageous young artist, Igor Levit. He is not only inspiring, he's animating with his play of the piano, but also he not only hard player, but also a hard arguer in politics, in European politics. So maybe we can see the film for us shortly? Take a seat, please.
Zusammen mit dem Berliner Symphonieorchester probt er das Klavierkonzert Nummer 3 von Beethoven. Ins Leben drängen wolle er mit seiner Musik, sagt Levit. Wirken.
Normalerweise werde ich gefragt, kann Musik die Welt irgendwie retten? Nein, kann sie nicht.
Igor Levit lebt in Berlin. So frei wie hier, mitten in Europa, könne man sich sonst fast nirgends fühlen, sagt er, der weltweit konzertiert. Deshalb sei es für ihn wichtig, für die europäische Idee einzustehen, für Freiheit, Toleranz und Gemeinsamkeit. Auf Twitter bezeichnet er sich als Pianist, Bürger, Europäer. Das vereinte Volk wird niemals besiegt. So lautet der Titel dieses Werks seines Freundes Frederik Czewski. Für Levit ein Symbol. Als Musiker Zeichen setzen. Levit zeigt Haltung.
So that's what we are going to talk about his really not only playing music, but having an attitude into anything. But may I start with a very personal question? You're deeply in love. Her name is Lulu. She's a black lady. But you split yesterday. Why?
She's 600 kilos of weight, about 10 years old, and it's my piano. And my piano was moved out of my place yesterday because I wanted to record my next album on that piano. So it's now on its way to Bavaria, and I'm going to see my instrument back in 2 weeks. So it's fine.
It's not the end
but
of the relation.
It feels like an emotional castration, what happened yesterday.
Oh,
it was awful.
Oh my God, so you're suffering?
No, I'm not suffering, but yeah, I'm not a crazy person, but it feels weird. The place is empty. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the very central part, very essential part of my place and my life. So, and it was just brought out and taken away from me by a crane, and it was really awful. Well, you know.
You will see again.
I wanted it that way, so that's fine.
Do you also have a nickname for your smartphone?
Are you kidding me? I don't have any nicknames for anything. No. And it's more a game of, you know, it's very relaxed. I do not greet my piano every morning with "Good morning, Lulu." It was just a matter of, you know, I saw this opera a couple of years ago in Munich, Lulu. I was very inspired by it, and then I called my best friend and I said, you know what, my piano does whatever it wants anyway, and I'll just name it Lulu. So that was the whole thing.
How many time do you spend with your piano, and how many time do you spend with your iPhone every day?
With my piano, it really depends. If you ask me how much time do I spend with music, it's literally 24/7. Mm-hmm. But with my piano, it really depends. Between 15 minutes and 12 hours. It's really, I'm not planning things. I never do. So I do whatever I feel is right.
You started music very early, in an early age, with 3, I think. When did you get your first smartphone?
I think it was the iPhone 3.
So 2010, around?
You guys know it better than I do, but no, wait a second. About 2009, 2010, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And since you're active on social media, when did you start it?
Well, I discovered, obviously, you know, Facebook was kind of around, but I always thought Facebook was sort of boring for me. It's fine, it's there, and one uses it, but I never really got attached to it. And then a friend of mine who is a great guy and a politician, he used to be very active in the Pirate Party here in Berlin. Christopher Lauer, he then started, I mean, through him, he started using Twitter very actively, and I saw this platform and I thought, wait a second, I like it. It's very free, it's very anarchistic in a way. I see things I usually would not see. I read pieces I usually would not read. And I immediately felt really attached to it. So I started using Twitter as my kind of own social media platform. And I kept it till today.
But your profile on Twitter, it's first citizen, European, and then pianist.
Well, what Twitter became for me really changed over the last couple of years. I changed over the last couple of years. I mean, I got very, very politicized over the last three, four years. So, you know, social media isn't the only platform I use. I don't believe anyone who just shouts out words on Twitter but doesn't act like it in daily life. So that's what I try to do. And obviously with my development, my usage of social media has changed a lot.
You use also the concert hall as a platform.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. In Brussels, there was a concert, famously known. You asked the audience to stand for a common Europe, and there was an ongoing discussion then, instead of hearing first the music, but then. How was it? Was it a happening? Is that the new form of playing music?
No, again, I don't plan those things, and I don't think one should use the platform, the concert stage, all the time for political statements. It becomes kind of boring also in the end. And but this day, it was a kind of a very traumatic day for me, and I think for all of us, because the night before Donald Trump was elected president, and I took a train. I had a concert in London. I took a train to Brussels. I couldn't sleep all night, and I just wrote down this speech. I felt a certain urgency to speak to the people. The reaction was overwhelmingly positive, but that's not what I was doing it for. There was one gentleman who started arguing with me, very loudly, which is fine. And so there was a discussion. That's what I want. That's what the discourse is. I can't shout out my opinion and say whatever you think. I don't give a damn. That's not who I am. As long as your opinion remains within a consensus, what is right and what is wrong. And I think it is very often easier to see what is right and what is wrong as we think. As long as that's the case, of course we can discuss everything. And there was a discussion. It was quite intense. But I wouldn't do it all the time.
But there are some artists who are also fighting for a common Europe, like the artist Wolfgang Tillmans, who has created election posters against the Brexit and then after the Brexit for a common Europe. So would you give a concert for a common Europe? Or would you?
Of course I would give a concert for common Europe, but you see, I would be very careful here. It's kind of easy to proclaim we give a concert for a common Europe, but what is the political message? What is in detail, what do you want politically? It's not enough to say we fight for the common Europe. Go on. What's next? And you see, I don't see that. I might be wrong here, but that's at least my feeling these days. The right wing, they have a clear view of where they want to go. They pronounce it very clearly. They want a different society. Some people say they want to go back. I wouldn't use that term. They want a different society. And they're very good in proclaiming what they want. Where is the left? And I feel, I really want it. I really wish there would be something, you know. Where is the real discussion of the left? Where do we want to go? What is 21st century living together? What is democracy in 21st century? I want this to happen more, rather than to put in my CV, oh, I played a concert for the Common Europe. Fine, we can do that, but it's really not enough.
As an artist, you believe in what Shakespeare said, artists are here to entertain. First place. What do you think are citizen or European made for in our daily life? What could you do in your daily life?
Well, first of all, if I, as a member of this society, decide to not take part in it and not to take any responsibility for it whatsoever, we can just take this thing named democracy, wrap it into some kind of bag and just throw it away. It doesn't work that way. And it sounds kind of cheesy now maybe, but we are politics. Everything else is really undemocratic. And I don't really care if I'm an artist or a policeman or a teacher or a chef or whatsoever. Mm-hmm. First and for all, I'm a citizen. So I have certain obligations. And then everyone finds her own or his own obligations and how you act and what you do. But you must take responsibility. Otherwise you can talk about democracy as long as you want, just kill it. Throw it away. It doesn't work that way. So
That's a statement. So is Berlin a European city? You moved here 1.5 years ago.
Oh, don't get me started on Berlin. Yes, Berlin is a European city, sure, but I'm probably the wrong person to talk about that, because I never really had a feeling to cities or spaces or places. All I feel attached to are people, so I don't. If Berlin is a European city, and because I know people who are very devoted to the idea and very engaged. But I also know people in my hometown where I grew up in Hanover who are very engaged, and I know people like. I can't really answer that question.
Isn't it even more? Because we heard here from the Berlin Partners Agency that Berlin is really an international city. 190 nations living here, and who lives in your neighborhood? Isn't it mixed? And your friends, of course, are your international acting artists. You have friends all over the world, probably. But in what languages are you talking to your friends?
It really depends. We speak in English, we speak in German, we speak in Russian, we speak in whatever feels right. We certainly do not speak in emojis. But you see, again, yes, the place is very international. People are international. People come from wherever. And still, where I live, this cowards party got elected by 10%. Mm-hmm. And I certainly will not waste, and I don't want to waste any time we have to talk about these cowards. But let's just face it. And so it is reality. But what disturbs me a lot is that if I look into the climate, some journalists will write, now they're in parliament, and it's good that they're in parliament, now they're visible and they're going to destroy themselves in 4 years, and then fine. I find this opinion and this way of thinking really wrong, because I don't think the most important moment is that they are in parliament. I think the most important moment is that these guys managed to shift the climate in the society in the last years to a direction which is really, really terrifying. And this will not go away with a party. This is on us to shift it, and it's going to take a long time, and I'm more and more convinced that we all will be very, very much hurt by that process. No one is going to come out of it with no bruises. But it's going to happen.
But you won't move, you won't leave Berlin for that.
No, for that I will not leave Berlin. If I'll ever leave Berlin, it's going to be for different reasons, but not for that one. I'm not running away from anyone.
So, this is an internet conference. I have to ask you whether you would like to use the internet more for your ideas, but also for your music. So, is music a universal language still, or is it the internet nowadays?
Well, you know, this phrase, music is the universal language. We hear that all the time. I grew up with that phrase, and it's easy to say. You know, it's easy to. For me, if you attend a concert and you hear a piece like Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, and you hear "Alle Menschen werden Brüder," and you hear all these ideals, and you feel good. You know, it makes you feel good. Having said that, what very often happens is that once people walk out of the concert hall, you know, it doesn't really, nothing really changes, and I do criticize that a lot. So for me, and that's what I do most of the times in social media, the internet gives me really the chance to actually fill this idea of music as the universal language, actually with content. Just to give you one example. I have the possibility, with one click on a button, in real time, I can see what kind of music is made on the other side of the planet. I can see who are the artists, what is music. I can actually learn from my fellow colleagues, and I can see what they do, like that. If I like something, I can communicate with these people. That simple. I can make a short video of me playing, I don't know, Beethoven, and send it to a dancer from Middle Africa and say, you see, listen to this, what do you think? And I can start a communication. I can really meet people, communicate with artists. I can really experience what music as universal language means. If I don't do that, then it's just empty talk. Then it's just, we think that music is a universal language, but actually we only do it for the, let me put it in a harsh way, for the white, Western, privileged class. And I think these times are, thank God, over.
But, yeah, bravo. This is a statement. But of course, well, the world is nearly connected to the internet anywhere, not yet in Africa, not in some places not. But would you produce also, use your talent only to perform in the internet? The new director of the theater here in Berlin, Volksbühne, is right now working on theater performances which only will be seen in the internet for free. So, to reach other people, of course, and people all over the world.
Sure.
Sure. So, and are there any plans, or do you have some projects even?
Well, there are always plans, and obviously what, as I said before, as I mentioned before, I really feel attached to people. So what I really need, like food or water, I need colleagues, I need people to interact with, to speak to. I can't make projects by myself, you know, I don't think that's very smart. I mean, you know, I alone can fix it is really the dumbest idea possible, imaginable. And so the moment you meet someone who who inspires you, and you create a project, sure. And of course I would play in the internet, and it's so simple, and it's so easy. It's not a big thing. You can do it at home. You can, it's really simple. I find it fantastic, but it's not that you meet partners who believe in this kind of freedom. They don't grow on trees.
This is why we do conferences. We have to smell, we have to touch, we have to...
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
What did the African dancer say to your Beethoven?
Well, first of all, it was very touching.
Sure.
It was very touching because what terms do you use? The terms, and these are old ideas. I could show you books from 1916 where people were actually trying to convince the art world or the musical society to let music free. It's the only art form which is absolutely immaterial and free. If I ask you guys what is music, no one of you could say, this is music. It doesn't, there's no form, you can't touch it, there's nothing to possess, it doesn't belong to anyone. Artists sometimes think that only because I wrote something or I composed something, it's mine. No, it's not yours. It's our all creation. You let it free. It exists basically, literally only in the air. You breathe it, you hear it, it happens between us. But it doesn't belong to you or to me or to the composer. It's somewhere there. So, and having said that, everyone is trying in this world is trying to kind of imprison music, to say, okay, this is jazz, this is blues, this is classical music, this is hip-hop, this is serious, this is not serious, or yuck, this is not music at all, go away. This is, I find it used to enrage me a lot. Today I find it just simply really boring to have these conversations. But the term was that this guy responded to me, what a great piece of music. And he had and he knew exactly what this piece was. It's not like I sent a video snippet of the Moonlight Sonata to some alien from the moon. No, he knew exactly what I sent him. But what he sent me, I had no idea about. No idea. I was the 5-year-old beginner who had no clue what actually exists. And yet, we are the ones who feel that we invented it, I had no idea. I was the one to learn, not he. And that was fantastic. And so that's what I do most of the times in social media. And then if I have some time, I sometimes attack some brown idiots, but that's another that's another topic.
Sorry, darling, but
Please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. We should discuss. We should open to the audience.
as a pianist, your quality,
Yeah, it's better.
insights, you have to rehearse enormously. And I think here are sitting many, many entrepreneurs, or people who want to be entrepreneurs. I think there's a similar pattern in rehearsing a piano piece and in creating a company. You have to rehearse and rehearse and rehearse to build and to build and to build. What does endurance mean for you?
It's so funny that you ask, because just 2 days ago I was talking about physical endurance to a very close dear friend who is a composer. And we had dinner. I played a concert in Brussels, and he was there, and we met for dinner later. And he's almost 80 years old. He's an American. He's a communist. He's a very opinioned guy. He's the one who wrote this piece I played last on the video. This huge Frederick Rzewski, yes. And so Frederick made fun of me in one moment because he said, "Last time I heard you play a piece of mine, you faked it." And so I said, and then he said, but that's great because I'm the master faker, so I know how one fakes. So we laughed a little bit, and then he said, if a composer writes a difficult piece, pianists always, or musicians always try to make it sound easy. But people and everyone should understand it is difficult. So it is an essential part of music making this physical endurance is an essential part of music making. And so, you see it all when you record something. It's nice. You can record the most unplayable piece ever written, and you can edit it and cut around so much that it will sound like you play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, whatever. It's not hard. Everyone can do it. But that's just a big lie. If I tell you that most of the records you buy when it says musician XY live at Carnegie Hall, well, let me tell you that most of those recordings aren't live at all. They walk on stage 1 or 2 days before the concert. They play, and then there's a live concert, and some of it is used and some of it is not. So I do believe in endurance a lot.
Do you believe in harmonies?
Say again?
Do you believe in harmony?
I believe in people. Is that enough?
If they are harmonic together?
They're not always harmonic together, but I still believe in them. I haven't found any better alternative yet than people.
Would you consider... Would you consider, as my last question, yourself as a humanist?
I would consider myself I would consider myself, if I have any goals, then it is to try to be as good a mensch as I can. And if you realize where it comes from, the term mensch, of being, it's a Yiddish term, and of being a good mensch, then that's maybe the most important goal I have. Yeah. Sounds very simple. It's kind of difficult. It's very difficult. Yeah.
No, but I think we should come to an end since it's only a few minutes left. Humanity, for a last sentence, it's a very nice thing to hear. My last question would be, you're a very analog living people. You love printed magazines as well and reading newspapers on paper, real. But what do you read in internet? What are you consuming in internet? Spotify, music channels?
You mean when I listen to music or when I read?
Well, both. When you consume culture or when you enjoy culture.
Well, I read newspapers a lot. So as I travel a lot, I have most of them with me on my device, on my iPad. I have this, I have the social media apps on my iPhone. I don't have any on my iPad.
Okay.
It's basically kind of an analog iPad. So there's lots of music on it, and since publishers more and more began to understand that not only do you have to, to sell an artist or a musician or a consumer a PDF of a printed, piece, but you can actually enrich the experience. So they more and more begin to understand that, realize that, thank God. But I read newspapers, I read books, I read magazines, I read, and as I said, I get the chance to see articles I would normally not see. And so that's what I do on my travels, on my iPad, but let me assure you, when I play the piano, when I work, there is no iPhone.
Okay. This is competition.
No, that's not a competition. I would immediately give up every single advice I have and have my beloved piano back.
Great to hear. So let us come to an end. So if there would be one entrepreneur offering you playing through the internet on their platform, you do it. That's a good thing to hear. But if you want to hear Igor Levit live, you have to come maybe wait 4 weeks because he's now heading for the US. But on 19th November, he's playing in Munich, on 23rd in Hanover, and on 5th December again in Brussels. I'm very curious to hear it. No speech.
speech.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.